Hi guys, what I've created here is some slides on chapters 56, 57, and 58. There are some pre-reading slides that I would like you to read and answer the questions in your head before you even attempt to read the chapter. Now, the first pre-reading set of questions are in chapter 56. Now, before reading, I want you to think in your head, will they actually make it to the griever hole? I want you to think what obstacles are going to be in their way. Are the grievers going to stop them? Are the creators going to have a little surprise for them? I also want you to get into the mind of the character. How would you feel if you were a glader risking your life? Would you stay back in the glade like the others, or would you have no fear and your ultimate goal is escaping the maze and surviving? The next question I would like you to ask yourself is, would you even trust Thomas and Teresa? So we know from reading the book, they were working with the creators to create the maze. So do you think they are trustworthy? Are they working with the creators to kill the other gladers? What do you think? Now in chapter 56, the gladers make their way to the griever hole. The other gladers protect Thomas, Teresa, and Chuck as they are the ones designated to punch in the codes. They are the ones that only actually know the codes along with Newt and Mino. Chuck is lucky, so Chuck has been allowed to join Thomas and Teresa as Thomas felt an urge to protect him and bring him home safely. Why do you think Thomas feels a connection to Chuck? So as they're making their way to the griever hole, an epic battle ensues throughout the chapter as the gladiators fight off the other grievers with homemade weapons that they previously made in the other chapters. Some of them even actually jump on the grievers to try and protect Thomas, Chuck, and Teresa. Eventually they make it to the edge of the cliff where Newt and Mino have prepared vines, so they are going to climb down the vines and enter the griever hole. Now, before you read chapter 57, I would like you to sketch a quick drawing and label it what you think the griever hole looks like. After you have read chapter 57, I want you to take back out that little quick sketch and compare it to what the actual griever hole looks like. So see how accurate you were, or do you have the same mind as the author? Now, in chapter 57, the characters enter the cold, slimy griever hole. So Teresa tries to enter the codes into the computer, but it doesn't seem to be working. So a panic starts to ensue amongst them. So whilst reading, I want you to look out for the panic. So you see it on the eyes of Thomas, you see it on the eyes of Chuck, and you definitely see it amongst Teresa. And a griever enters the hole, and Thomas summons up one last bit of courage and he actually manages to kill the griever. So then they go back to try and enter in the codes, but the grievers begin to arrive again. Now, an unlikely source, Chuck spots a little button on the wall. Yes, Chuck spots it. So why do you think that is a surprise that Chuck spots it? Eventually, Teresa pushes the button and a sliding door is opened. So on the left hand side of the slide, I have attached a quick video of the attempt of the gladers to escape from the maze. So have a quick look at it. It's not exactly like the book, but it will give you a good idea of how the characters were feeling and the dangers that they faced. Now, before reading chapter 58, I want you to think back to 57. So, are you surprised that Chuck saved the day and found the button? I also want you to think, why are you surprised it is Chuck? Is there anything that Chuck has done in the previous chapters that would make you surprised that it was him that actually found the solution? I also want you to think before you read chapter 58, where do you think this sliding door leads to? Is it going to lead to another maze? Is it going to leave them to their death? Is it another trick? So I want you to think of those questions, answer them in your head before you even attempt to read chapter 58. Now, in chapter 58, it's quite a short chapter. So after they press the button, everything in the glade or the maze goes silent. So the grievers have suddenly switched off and turned off. So Thomas, Teresa, and Chuck, they meet with the other graders and they do a little stock check on who has actually survived reaching the Griever hole. So 21 of them actually have survived. They hug each other, and then there's a moment of relief, but then fear grips them again as they realize that they're going to have to go down and explore this greasy slide. So they all go down the slide. They reach an underground chamber. So Thomas gets sick because he is very, very fearful of what's going to happen next. In front of them, in the underground chamber, there are about 20 or so darkly tinged windows. Behind each of them is a man or a woman. They're all very pale, all very thin, all wearing white coats. They are the creators. Now, what I want you to think for next week is, what do you think will happen next? Is there going to be another surprise for the Gladers, or are we reaching the end of the story? If you have any questions, please ask your teacher on Google Classroom. Have a good day.